What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So happy Monday, everyone. And we're going to talk about Social Security today. I have another video to show you. This is Mike Pence talking about cutting Social Security once again. Now, it's very clear that Mike Pence will be running for president. Obviously, there's no other reason for him to be going on these different outlets and talking about cutting Social Security and talking about plans for the future. So we know he's running for president. He just hasn't announced it yet. And so it's important for us to pay attention to what he is saying, as well as anyone running for president, anyone running in politics in general. It's important for us to know how they feel about Social Security, because this can affect people who are currently receiving Social Security, as well as people who want to retire. You want to retire in the next 10 years? Guess what? Social Security might play a role in that. And so you need to know what these politicians want to do when it comes to Social Security. And so that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here. So by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. Okay, so we're going to get right over to this video, and we're going to watch the whole thing. It's like 5 minutes. He's going to be talking about a few different things when it comes to Social Security, and I'm going to be on the screen while we watch this, because I'm going to have to cut in and really debunk some of the stuff that he's talking about, because some of the stuff that he's talking about is just not the reality. He's not telling you the truth when it comes to Social Security versus the debt, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So here we go.
With a special guest, Mike Pence, former Vice President of the United States, and you think about what would be fair game to talk about, and it's like this, but this is Squawk Box, so we're like this. We got 20 minutes. We're not going to finish what I want to talk about, but most of it, we're going to stay in our lane in terms of money, spending, inflation, recessions. Does that sound good?
That's why we love Squawk Box. Good to see you, Joe.
Good to see you.
Yes,
thank you for coming in.
Thanks for, and no Blazer. He's playing along with us.
Because we're going to solve.
We'll roll up the sleeves.
We're going to work. It's a working breakfast. It's a working.
One thing I do want to say before we talk anything about Social Security, if you're looking at this guy in the background here, and this is, I love the set. I actually love that they have it kind of the outdoor feel where you can see all the activity going on in the city. But this guy in the background, obviously he knows he's on camera, and he's like doing this whole workout routine in front of the camera. And so I just thought that was amusing. Every time I watch this, I'm focused on him, and it's kind of hard to focus on what they're talking about because he's back there. So I just wanted to mention that because I just think it's funny.
Squawk breakfast. The debt ceiling, front and center. Both sides seem to be entrenched. I understand both sides. I think during the Trump administration, Democrats voted for clean raises from time to time. They say, why not do that now? That's what the president wants. But I can see where Speaker McCarthy says, when do we get a chance to really, focus on these huge debt issues that we have? Now is the time to do it, or we'll get another omnibus bill in December that we can't.
Okay, before he gets started with that, they already have control. They have control of the purse. When I say they, I'm talking about Republicans. Speaker McCarthy has control of the money. Okay, both him and the leader in the Senate, Schumer, they have control of the money. They decide what we spend money on. So when it comes to the budget, the president is going to put forward his plan for a budget, but guess who has to okay that budget? Speaker McCarthy. So the whole talk here of trying to make this big ordeal about the budget, and we have to create this budget and all this, he can create that as a speaker. He does not need the White House to create that, because money comes from Congress. It doesn't come from the White House. So all this talk right now, all this energy that's being wasted on the talk of the debt ceiling and all this stuff, it doesn't even need to be happening right now, because Speaker McCarthy has that power. Just look it up. Google it right now and see who has the power when it comes to the budget, when it comes to money. It comes from Congress. And we all know that. But they're still entertaining this, and they're still talking like this is the negotiation that needs to happen between the president and Congress, when the reality is Congress can do what they want when it comes to money.
Control. Who's right, and how does it get reconciled?
Well, I mean, the Constitution requires that we maintain the full faith and credit of the United States, and the Congress is going to figure that out. But I commend Speaker McCarthy for saying that we ought to make a down payment on fiscal discipline in a very real sense. Look, the issue is spending. As I travel all across this country, families are hurting. I mean, inflation ignited to a 40-year high after the Democrat Congress 2 years ago spent $1.9 trillion in unnecessary COVID spending, another trillion nearly at the end of that Democrat majority. So I'm glad to see the Republican majority saying we need to use this debt ceiling to start us back in the direction of fiscal discipline. But look, we all know where the real issue is in terms of long-term debt for the United States. And that is that, while I respect the Speaker's commitment to take Social Security and Medicare off the table for the debt ceiling negotiations, we've got to put them on the table in the long term. And right now, President Biden's policy is insolvency. I mean, we're looking at a debt crisis in this country over the next 25 years that is driven by entitlements, and nobody in Washington, D.C. wants to talk about it. I've been going around the country. I'm going to continue to try and do my part.
Are you talking about entitlements? What would you do about it?
Okay, so I just want to debunk some of the stuff that he's talking about here when it comes to entitlements. And when he starts to talk about the major force or the major reason why we're in debt is because of these entitlement programs. When it comes to Social Security, when it comes to Medicare, that is fully funded by the payroll tax and the trust fund. That's how it's funded. So when it comes to the debt, that's money that we're spending that we don't have. But we actually have this money. This money is coming from people who are currently working. People who are currently working and the trust funds. That's where that money's coming from. Social Security and Medicare don't add one penny to our debt. So when you're looking at the $31 trillion debt, that's coming from other stuff that we're spending money on, not Social Security and Medicare. And you see politicians try to tie Social Security and Medicare into our debt because everyone is upset about the fact that we're spending all this money and we're in debt. And so they're trying to pull in Social Security and Medicare and make you think, oh, well, this is part of the problem, so we need to make some cuts there too. But that's not what the reality is. And it makes me upset when I hear these politicians talk like this because they know what the truth is, but they're trying to influence you. They're trying to get you to think that Social Security and Medicare, they're the reason why we're in debt, or they're one of the major reasons why we're in the debt that we're in right now. And that is not the case. And so anytime I hear this, I want to correct it because these politicians, I'm telling you, it's a real sad situation when you have politicians out there that are just telling you stuff that's not true, and they'll get you to believe something so they can get their way in doing what they want to do, cut it or privatize Social Security, whatever they want to do. They can say, well, this is the reason why we had to do it because it's adding to our debt, and in the future it's only going to get worse, when that is just not true. It's just not the case.
Entitlements.
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to explain to people what's going on. We got a $32 trillion national debt right now, Andrew. Having a national debt the same size as our nation's economy is unsustainable. Last time that happened was right after World War
I don't
II.
disagree with you. I'm just curious, what's on the for you on entitlements, what's on the table?
Well, I think it begins with education. It begins with having the American people understand that it doesn't stop at $32 trillion. I mean, when you...
And you see how he's talking about the $32 trillion when it comes to entitlement programs. When it comes to Social Security and Medicare, he's talking about the $32 trillion. They're not the same. They're coming from different piggy banks, if you want to look at it that way. The $32 trillion, that's money that's been spent on other things, not Social Security and not Medicare. But he continues to tie the two together. And that's why, and this interviewer, this is a pretty good back and forth because he's saying, okay, what do you want to cut? Like, where do we start when it comes to making cuts to entitlement? And Mike Pence doesn't answer this because he knows that even if you cut Social Security and Medicare, it's not going to bring down the debt. It's just not going to happen because the money comes from different places.
Look at the deficits that are projected over the next 30 years in Social Security and Medicare and other areas. It's about another $120 trillion. I mean, literally, I just had 2 granddaughters born 2 weeks ago in 2 days. Our family's incredibly blessed. Looking down at those little girls, I think of their 30th year. We could have $150 trillion in debt in this country. And if we wait to deal with it, But
you've never seen it.
Or would you mean to
choices.
Social Security? Would you? I mean, I think that when you get down to the brass tacks, that's the complicated part.
Eventually,
that's why I said, what is on the table in terms of what
you're going to have to do something eventually. But Jim Bullard just called it the third rail. How long has it been the third rail of American politics? It's always been the third rail. You have never seen two parties run for it more quickly than we just saw again. All President Biden has to say is they're going to do something with Social Security and Medicare, and then all of a sudden the Republicans get scared. Oh, no, we never would. So that's not helping anyone, and we're never going to address it.
Well, that's right.
There's an election every 2 years.
What you need is presidential leadership. And the fact is that President Biden is abdicating his opportunity to provide real leadership and say, first, Andrew, and I'm not dodging at all. There's lots of good ideas to solve this that are common sense, that don't impact people at the point of the need, that don't affect anybody that's going to retire in the next 25 years. I mean, you can phase in, just like Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill did 50 years ago. They raised the retirement age to 67. They made Social Security solvent until 2009. There are things that you could do in personal savings accounts in the long term, allowing younger Americans to get a higher rate of return, which you all talk about the great American economy every day. But these are all ideas. The first job is to be straight. The second job is
the natural
get everybody
follow-up,
at the table.
Okay, so that's all that we had. I was trying to get the full clip. I don't know why I wasn't able to get that full clip, but anyway, we heard enough when it came to Social Security and Medicare. You heard the privatization. He talked about that. He was talking about a lot of different things. There are all these different ideas that they have to fix Social Security. But one thing that he said that I really paid attention to is he said you need presidential leadership in order to make this happen. So why didn't it happen during the Trump administration? He was vice president. You had President Trump. Why didn't they make that decision then? Why didn't they move on something when he had vice presidential leadership and then you had the presidency? So I don't, this whole thing, when it comes to just punting the ball and continuing just to kick the can down the road, we know politicians love to do that. And this is just another example of this. And now, since he's not, in leadership, now he can just pretty much say what he wants. And he's saying, yes, we need to do this and we need to cut this and we need to cut that. But the thing that you really need to pay attention to is he's tying Social Security and Medicare in with our $32 trillion debt that we're looking at right now. And he's trying to make you think that the money's coming from the same place. That is very dangerous. And that's something that people will regret when they find out, if it's a situation where they start making cuts to Social Security and Medicare and we watch the debt continue to rise because the money's coming from different places. You're going to have a lot of upset people, but he is trying to deceive you when he says that. And you can look up the information. The videos that I put out, I'm trying to provide you with what's going on right now, what politicians are talking about right now, but do your own research. Look this up. You'll see that Social Security is fully funded by the payroll tax as well as the trust funds. That's where that money is coming from. It's not coming from anywhere else. It's not coming from the general fund. The general fund is what's adding to our debt right now. So when we're looking at debt and the spending that's going on right now, that is coming from our general fund. It's not coming from Social Security and Medicare. And so hopefully you guys understand that. So anytime you hear politicians start to mix the two and try to say, we need to cut Social Security and Medicare because of the debt, just understand the money's coming from two different places. And just automatically, if you hear a politician start talking like that, just know he's being dishonest with you or she's being dishonest with you. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.